Hey everybody. Today we're going to go over a couple of small things to help you out with the second Python assignment. The first thing I'm going to show you is the input command. Now you've already been using the input command, and here's a little sample of what that looks like. We have a print statement here that says what is your name, and then directly under it, it allows a user to type in something because we use the input command. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my name, Billy Bob. I hit enter, and then my program saves that as the variable name, and then just says hello to that name. Now, what some you may want to do is you may want to be able to have this input happen not on a new line, but perhaps right next to the first print statement where you asked them for their name. So let me show you how that's done. You can actually have the input command print out something on that same line. So I'm going to modify this here. I'm going to actually get rid of this print command. I'm going to keep this name equals input. And in here, I'm actually going to put in quotes and just say enter your name, colon, give a little bit of space. And let's take a look at how this is different. Let's run this one now. Now when I run it, notice that it has enter your name, which is what I placed in quotes inside my brackets on my input statement. And it leaves my cursor right next to it. So now I can enter in the name there. Okay. If you would like your program to prompt the user for their input right next to the prompt, this is how you can do that. All right. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to use a variable to keep track of something or keep count of something. This is going to be useful when you're working on the assignment where you're going to have to count how many times somebody answers yes in their program. So to do that, we are going to create a variable. So let's call it count. And we're going to give it an initial value. Now in this case, I'm going to set it to 0. So there you go. Count is 0. So the idea behind assignment number 8 is that you're going to ask them a series of yes or no questions. And then, based on their answers at the end, you will tell the user how many times they said yes. Now, this is possible by keeping track. Every time they say yes, you want to keep track of that. So, every time they say yes, you may be tempted to say, okay, well, let's set the count to 1. Okay, and now count has the number 1 in it. But there's a problem there because if you set your variable to a specific number each time that person answers yes, you're going to run into a problem where your count doesn't take into account what the person entered in their previous answer. So you can't hard code a number in here. What you want to do is you want to not set the count to a specific number. What you really want to do is just increase the count by 1 each time they provide you with an answer. So let's go ahead and set my count back to 0. How do I do that? Well, you would do this. You would say, all right, I want to store inside my variable count. I want to take the current value of count, okay, and I want to add 1 to it. Okay. So I had this initial statement here that set count to 0, and then suppose somebody asked a question and then they did indeed say yes, so you would use if statement to check if they did, and if they did say yes, you would say, all right, take the count, increase it by 1, and then save that new number as my new count. So when I run this, okay, count now holds the number 1. And if I were to do this again and say count is equal to count plus 1, right, it will take the current value count, which is 1, it'll add 1 to it, so it'll increment it, and so now it should hold the number 2. And indeed it does. Okay, and so this is how you can increase the value of a variable by 1 each time, okay, to kind of keep track of the score or how many right answers somebody gets, or in this case for assignment number 8, how many times a person says yes. So you want to make use of a variable, and then you want to make use of incrementing it each time they meet a certain condition. All right, the next thing I'm going to show you. So here I have a very simple program. It is going to simply ask the user to enter their name. So input, enter your name, and then whatever they type in, I'm going to save it as a variable name. Then I'm going to check to see if what that person typed in matches this name right here. And if it does, it will print out hello Tiger King. Otherwise, so this is in case it doesn't meet this condition, it will simply say, hey, cool cat. Let's run this program and see what it does. So here we go, program's running. Enter your name. I'm going to put in Joe Exotic. There you go. Boom. And there you go. It says hello Tiger King, just like I expected it to. Let's try it again. This time, let's type in a different name. So, Carol Baskin. And it doesn't meet this condition where it matches this name. So it says, hey, cool cat. All right, so we already know how that works. We've seen these if statements before. What I want to take a look at is this. Well, what if I run this and I type in Joe Exotic, but let's say I got the capitalization wrong. Let's say I do capital J, but I do lowercase e. Notice that it says, hey, cool cat. It basically treats it as not a match for this. When you're doing these comparisons, it needs to be an exact perfect match. Capital letters match only with other capital letters. Lowercase letters match with only other lowercase letters. And so it doesn't matter that I have this E here for exotic. The fact that I didn't use a capital E, it will not consider this as a match to capital J O E, capital E X O T I C. Now, if you want to write a program where you just want to see if the person gets the word correct, you don't really care whether the upper or lowercase letters are correct, so you don't really care about the case, what you can do is this little trick right here. Let's say I have a variable called x, and x is going to hold my name. Okay, there it is. X has Ed Chan in it. X dot lower, open bracket, close bracket. What this will do is it will take whatever the contents are of this variable x, and then it will take every single letter and force them all to be lowercase. And then it will spit that up. So if I run this now, you can see that it just took the contents of this string x, right, which had Ed Chan in it, and it just spits out everything in lowercase. This is useful because now I can modify my program to, instead of saying if the name is an exact match for this, I can say take the name, force everything to be lowercase, and that way I can just compare it against the name Joe Exotic with everything in lowercase. And this will make it a lot less strict in terms of what are some acceptable answers. So let's go ahead and save this and run this. And I'll show you what this does. So I run this, enter your name, Joe Exotic is a match. Let's try another one. All lowercase is a match. Let's try another one. Let's go capital J, lowercase o, capital E, lowercase e, capital X, lowercase o, T, I, capital C. Still a match. So what it's doing is it's taking the user's input, it's going to force everything to be lowercase. And that way, when it compares it to this name, which is all in lowercase, it only cares about whether you have the correct letters and not so much the upper and lowercase. All right, the next thing I'm going to go over is just a refresher on how and or works when you're doing different Boolean comparisons. So here I have a simple program. I'm going to simply just ask for someone's favorite color. And the idea is if the color they chose is equal to blue, I want to say, hey, that's one of my favorites too. And then if they chose anything else, I'm going to simply say, oh, cool. So I'm going to run this. Enter your favorite color. Blue. Hey, that's one of my favorites. All right, let's try it again. Type in something else like yellow. And it says, oh, cool. All right, great. Now, what if you want to give multiple options? And you want to say, all right, you know what? My favorite colors are blue and red. So if the person types in blue or red, I'm going to say, hey, that's one of my favorites too. So to do that, you may be tempted to do this. If color is equal to blue or red. Now in English, this makes sense. Okay, you're giving the option that, hey, color can be blue or red. Either one of those is correct. But in Python, the or is meant to sit in between two different Boolean statements, meaning two different comparators. So here, this statement is saying, is color equal to blue, true or false? Whereas this just simply says red. Okay, there's no true or false value here, at least not what I want, not in a way that I want it to behave. What I really want this to say is, did the variable color hold the value red in it? So I have to be very explicit and say this. Okay, so now this says if color is equal to blue or color is equal to red, then I can say, hey, that's one of my favorites. Okay, it's checking, is this true? Is this true? And if either one of these is true, then the condition is met and I can print this out. Okay, I just want to point that out because there's a lot of people that will make the mistake of doing this, and then they're going to wonder why the program behaves weirdly. All right, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions, please email me or contact me on Zoom during my office hours. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.